Bit of the background information on TMACOG. In 1968, the federal government said to all of the major metropolitan areas in the country, hey Toledo, hey Detroit, Sylvania, Perrysburg, no more federal money for you to do your pet infrastructure projects. This is the taxpayers' money, and it makes sense that we encourage the free flow of commerce and citizenry throughout our major metropolitan areas to the benefit of all taxpayers. So, since 1968, the federal government said, organize and structure a council of governments that will help process the myriad number of requests we have for investment in our infrastructure needs. It doesn't discount the needs of Detroit or Toledo or Sylvania, it just says we need to prioritize them. Sometimes an infrastructure project can get on a list and take, as Lance will tell you, many, many years to come to fruition. We've had major projects take place that put a spotlight on Toledo. The bridge that's mentioned in the video took many, many years to get that from conception to reality. But the Glass City Veterans Skyway Bridge, it's a mouthful, is one of the premier bridges in the country today. And we can be proud of that. For decades, we had a very dangerous connection from Toledo to Fort Wayne. And it took almost 30 years to get that road built. And you may have heard me complain since I've been here. In full disclosure about me, I'm a reforming politician. I spent 16 years as county commissioner in Wood County and then 2 terms in the legislature before escaping, Lisa.
Lucky you.
Lucky me, right. But I lamented the fact that my commute to Columbus was not easy. We're the only major metropolitan area in the state that does not have direct highway access to the interior of our state. And this is a very long story, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but it's important. And here's why TMACOG and why I've been advocating since I got here. Not having that direct highway connection that all the other metropolitan areas have disenfranchises our region from fully participating in our state's economy. Look at the taxpayer dollars that have gone into Intel. And Intel will have just-in-time suppliers that Toledoans may not be able to meet because of 38 traffic lights we have to wade through before we even reach the outer belt of Columbus. So I wrote a letter to the first governor who was in office when I got here, and my plea for attention to this issue was soundly rejected. And I sent the same carbon copy letter to Governor DeWine, who had me in Columbus a month later meeting with the top ODOT officials, and we've got it on the radar screen. And the good news is that the governor submitted in his proposed budget $10 million to help us with a study of what will ultimately need to be a bypass between 23 north of Delaware over to 71 that will help us to point to that corridor as a legitimate freight connection and corridor to the interior of the state. The big story on that is probably 25 years ago, it was determined that all the offloaded port goods you see on the western seaboard of the United States that take many days to process and offload and then get shipped via train to the Midwest, they get tied up in Chicago, sometimes for several more days, that it made sense to widen the Panama Canal, move those goods to the Panama Canal, and offload on the eastern seaboard so we can move them back to the interior of the country. And they could move everywhere easily, except through Ohio into the Midwest because of that blockage of that arterial connection to the interior of the state. So it's very important to us from a 10,000-foot level that we be able to better connect the region for economic development purposes and for the movement of freight. So that's why we've been kind of harping on that issue the past several years, and finally are starting to make some headway. What we need to ensure now, before the legislature wraps up the transportation budget, usually by the end of March or April, is that language and that commitment to spend $10 million to try to help us out stays in there and doesn't get siphoned off. So I would encourage all of you, if you haven't already, send a letter, talk to your legislators, and let them know how important this objective is to our overall transportation needs in Northwest Ohio, a project in Columbus. Sometimes people scratch their head and say, why do you care about a project in Columbus? And that's the reason why. But as you heard from the video, we have 2 major programmatic wings: transportation and water quality. Transportation started immediately upon our formation in 1968. It was mandated by the federal government that it be multimodal. And you have some people that don't like bikes and want to know why they're on the same road as their car. And the federal government mandates that the planning we do be multimodal. So we look at pedestrian access, roads, bridges, transit, and passenger rail. We have to look at all of it because all citizens deserve to be able to move in the mode that's best for them. So that's something that Lance will talk a little bit more about, is transportation being one wing. It has numerous tentacles that reach out to our community and the region we share. And on the water quality side, in the 70s, when the federal government passed the Clean Water Act, our members decided that they wanted this to be an important programmatic issue for our area as well. So we've been doing water quality management for many, many years as well. And Kari Gerwin is going to tell you a little bit more about all of the myriad tentacles and committees that exist under that particular wing of our operations. But we've been doing this since 1968, and what makes us successful is you. If we don't have the region's input, if we don't have participants lending their expertise to TMACOG and sitting around the table, we're not going to know what transportation project is important to you. We're not going to know what we can do better to make sure that our environment that we share is at the best quality possible. And we hope every day we never see another shutdown of the water supply like we saw several years ago. But algae is impacting our lake. And we still have a lot of work to do to make sure that the nutrients entering the lake allow us to never have an event like that again. And so we work in that area as well. But our leadership is comprised of a myriad diversity of members that bring expertise to our table that if we didn't have you, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do for the region. So we hope that you'll ask questions when we get to that part of the agenda and let us know how you can help and how you can help, or we can help you and function as the best region that we can possibly be. So it's an honor to have you all here. I'm in my approaching 7th year this July of being here at TMACOG. We've had 4 presidents that preceded me, and every single one of them is 2 of my favorite things in the video. One of our staff members, Kari Gerwin, saying that she loves her job. And our staff really do love their job. They love interacting with you. They love making a difference for the region we share. And the other thing I love, and Lisa, you'll understand this having left the legislature, is former Oregon Mayor Marge Brown saying, I look around the room at TMACOG and I couldn't tell you what party these people are. That's not what should be a priority in our lives and in our world. And we're stumbling in America right now with regard to that. We've turned it into a bloody team sport that's hurting our country. And that doesn't happen here. We've got people that are here because they care about their communities, they want to be involved, function, learn from one another, and make a difference. So I encourage you to join our team and be as involved as you'd like to. We've got so many committees that you're going to hear about. There's something for everyone that will mirror, hopefully, your passions and your interests, and we need your expertise. So thanks for being with us, and we look forward to some discussions later and answering any questions that you all may have. Thank you very much. You're welcome.